we're pretty spare over here. Can we get, yeah. And once again, raise your hand if you are singing these songs.
For those with it, I tried, but I.
Tenors, raise your hand.
I was.
Yes, can we get a forum of tenors over here? So that you're hearing each other? Yeah. All right. How does this feel? It's okay. More day. That's how you do more. I guess we'll go on with that. Okay. Please. We are remembering the age of where. We are remembering the tea of ritual. We are remembering, please think about releases. If you're not going to look, at least release in the right place. Put your head down. Alrighty, let's give it a try. And we're remembering that the forte, one page before the last page, continues for about 5 bars. That will be our crowning achievement today. Alright.
It's
going to do some things. That's the place I was talking about upstairs. I'm going to show you the second beat. This is page 7, the first measure. When I show the second beat, I'm going to show the third beat. That third beat is the cutoff for sopranos and altos and the entrance for tenors and basses. Tenors and basses, you seem to be waiting, perhaps, for soprano and alto to stop their word, but well, we're going to overlap. We don't want them to finish and then you begin. Can we sing, please, the downbeat, no measure numbers here. Page 6, the second line, the second measure. And we're just going to practice what happens in the first measure of page 7. So this is the downbeat. We're on page 6. We're on the second line. We're on the second measure. 1, 2, 3. Same place, please.
Sorry? What's it look like? I haven't seen what it looks like.
Well, that's because we didn't get there yet. As we go along, 1, 2, 3. Okay, that 3 is the release of the word where in soprano and alto, and that is the entrance of the word like in tenor and bass. Same place, page 6, second measure. 1, 2, 3. We're going to do that again because it was really good. We're just going to have it be good twice in a row. That was great. 1, 2, 3. Okay, another small but helpful thing. In the words, it's shrine. I'm on page 2. It's shrine. Some of us are aligning very loose. It's shrine. Okay? It's shrine. There are 2 S's, yes, in a row. It's
You guys hearing this?
yeah, page 2. Second line of page 2. It's shrine. Can we go? It's temple, please, at the top of page 2. Okay, 1, 2.
It's temple.
Forgot that we have no breath after space. Please honor and respect the poem. 1, 2.
It's temple.
One more time, the it's shrine was not as good as the previous time. Although I would have accepted that answer earlier. 1, 2.
It's temple.
Questions from the class, things, discussion, places we want to do again?
Yes.
Okay.
One more time.
Yeah, no, we're gonna run it again, but was there anything somebody wanted to hear their part? All right. Let's see what we remember, shall we? From the beginning.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Was our best execution. All right, very good. So, we're not done rehearsing. We're now rehearsing what happens when we have finished the anthem. Good choir.
I thought you meant to do it.
I got a picture of Lily yelling. Nice.
I mean, we were singing in, that
I know. That's what saves me.
That was,
lower.
well, that was so weird.
Yeah, exactly.
I couldn't, well, anywho,
Anywho.
I did it there at the end.
Yes, you did.
And that makes me sad. Oh, you mean how does like this?
Yeah.
So when you come up, you want this. After this, we have found that it tends to be that if you wait, that you do that, then what you're doing is pulling like this sometimes. So what you do is you do this, go like that, and then do this back in. And you'll also do some stuff.
Oh, I feel lifted. Thank you, Bill. Good morning. My name is Lisa Anderson. Pronouns are she and hers, and I'm your worship associate this morning. Welcome to all of you, here in person and on Zoom, and especially welcoming there are new people who've just started, have just discovered us. And I want to extend a special welcome to you, Kathleen. Reverend Kathleen is our beloved former minister and now Minister Emerita, and it's so good to have you with us. We strive at USNH to live our principles as an inclusive, loving community, a community that honors and protects the inherent dignity of every person. We delight in our young families and children and have created a space in the back corner of the room for them. And for our members who need hearing assistance, we have devices in the back. Social justice is also a very important part of our ministry and the work of many of our members outside of USNH. Susan Lagarde, a longtime member and CEO of Fairhaven Community Healthcare Center, is an example of the incredible impact we can have in this broken, difficult world. Please stay for an important presentation by Suzanne after the service at 11:45 here in the sanctuary. She'll talk about the impact of federal health care cuts and executive orders on her clinic and other providers in Connecticut. Dr. Lagarde is an innovative, caring leader and is also on top of everything else, striving to meet the needs of her undocumented families. In recent years, and with the guidance of our current minister, Reverend Stephen Kendrick, we're also evolving into a teaching congregation. We will be ordaining our former ministerial intern, Sonny McMillan, next spring, a postponement in part because of scheduling issues with the UUA. Sonny wants you to know that she misses us, that she's thriving as a contract minister of a 200-member UU church in Bellingham, Washington. Really cool. And she's looking forward to being with us again on her ordination. And we're grateful to you, Jonathan, for joining us also as a new intern for the next 2 years. A few more announcements. Next week, October 26th, you are warmly invited to attend the all-ages Halloween party on the front lawn after the service. Halloween is an all-ages celebration, especially here. And finally, turn off your devices. And now our board president, Sue Trotter-Smith, will give us a special update from Endowment and Legacies. Thank you, Susan.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Susan Trotter-Smith. I'm your congregation's president, and I'm here to talk about endowment and your opportunity to become a member of the Legacy Society. The USNH Endowment, a permanent investment fund, is an important part of the finances of this congregation. During the fiscal year, the endowment is providing $75,000 towards our operating budget, and the endowment loaned funds to the congregation to pay off a commercial bank loan that funded the congregation of this sanctuary. The outstanding principal on that loan is approximately $225,000. Now, the Legacy Society for USNH recognizes donors who make sustained gifts to the endowment or include gifts to USNH in their estate plans. Members and friends of the congregation become members of the Legacy Society for USNH by arranging a future gift of any amount in their will, trust, or with a beneficiary designation on a retirement account, or by making a lifetime gift to the endowment totaling $10,000 or more. The Board of Trustees supports the Endowment and Legacies Committee's work to invite USNH members and friends to become members of the Legacy Society for USNH. Soon, you will be receiving a mailing about planning your legacy and the USNH Endowment. Please give this opportunity thoughtful consideration. And now, let us settle into worship. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you. We wake again to the miracle of a new day, to sunlight coming down through leaves, beginning to turn their autumn colors of orange and red, to wind high above us, pushing rivers of clouds. We wake again to the earth turning, the earth serenely unaware of boundaries, national borders, wars. One earth from which we rise, one earth, mother to all life. This day, may we draw strength from the peacefully changing earth, always beneath us, always within us. May we remember we are earth, earth made aware and aware in love with life. Let us worship together. We will be singing together the hymn, number 83, in your gray hymnal, Winds Be Still. And as we sing that hymn, you are invited to come forward with a joy or with a sorrow. They'll remain unnamed, but if you will light a candle for a joy, we can share in the light of your joy. If you would put a stone into the bowl for a sorrow that you're carrying, we will endeavor to share the weight of that sorrow. And I do want to begin by naming the sorrow that Susan Godshall has died, who is a long, long time member of this congregation, at least the entire time that I was here as your minister. Her daughter Casey will be organizing a date and a time for a memorial service, as yet unnamed, but hopefully you'll be hearing about that soon. So hold Susan Godshall's family in your heart, please.
Well, good morning. My name is Jesse Greist. I am your coordinator of congregational life. My pronouns are he and him. And for my whole time on this earth, as long as I can remember, I have been exposed both through my Unitarian Universalism and through my participation in popular media, books, movies, stories, to the hero. That person that finds the courage to go out, oftentimes on their own, face fear, and become their dream. To lead others, whether it is in a movement for social justice, a movement for personal justice, the rescuing of someone, whatever it is, we have spent a lot of time focusing on the hero. This morning, I would like to talk about the courage of everyone else, the people who might walk in the shadow, move in the shadow of the heroes, who might participate in a movement started by a hero, who might participate in something as simple as a march, a protest, a letter-writing campaign, perhaps sign on to a petition. The courage that it takes to push your own boundaries, your own envelope, whatever it is your comfort zone. When we each take that step, that moment beyond what we feel comfortable with, we become our own kind of hero. Now, we may look at heroes as being this type of heroism or this type of courage as I mentioned before, participating in a march or a protest that you hadn't before, or perhaps one that you felt a little nervous about participating in. It might be volunteering to read with children, something that you hadn't done before, but you do it for the first time. But again, what I'd like to center this morning are those characters in our lives, in our fiction. I mean, here I'm talking about, I'll give you an example. When I watched the movie The Return of the Jedi, when I was a child, obviously the heroes in this movie were the Skywalkers, the Organas, the Solos, but then those Ewoks came out. And I found myself going, I want to be one of them. I want to be one of those little creatures that has been told that I have no power. But I find my power in small actions. In just walking up to a stormtrooper and knocking him on the helmet with my cane. That's the heroism that is centered in our lives, in our stories. And that's the heroism that I'd like us to take with us in our hearts as we leave this room today. Because not everyone in this room is going to be the leader of a national movement, and that's okay. Someone will be, and that's also okay. But for me, I'm happy to be an Ewok, to be a person that doesn't get on the news, to be someone with a sign, to be someone who signs something, to be someone who reads with a child, to be someone who provides a meal for someone who's hungry, and to have that courage and that heroism become everything that I am. Let us sing our little heroes out to their class this morning with words that are in your order service, the first two verses of This Little Light of Mine. Let's sing them off to their classes. Almost every week, we read a version of our covenant. But I don't want it to be routine and for us to stop thinking about it. So I invite you to listen to these words deeply and see what may be difficult for you. Because so much of our work flows from our covenant. Our covenant lies at the heart of how we come together in community. And not just at USNH, but I hope everywhere. It's not a set of beliefs. Rather, we are joined by the promises we make and how we will be together. A brief version appears in the order of service. Our website has the entire version. And now I would ask that you read the shorter version in the order of service with me. We covenant together
to create and nurture a culture of respect and kindness, and to engage in the spiritual and everyday practice of loving more generously. To this end, we'll strive to be open, value differences, listen deeply, use kind language, speak our truths, work with conflict, seek humor and joy.
Thank you, Lisa. It is a delight to have you here with us, Kathleen. It's wonderful. I'm greatly in favor of Minister Emeritus. I think they're great. I'm Reverend Stephen Kendrick, and I just really want to delight this information. Have you gotten this in your mailboxes? Well, Jesse is quoted and interviewed in an article in here, and that's just wonderful that they highlighted our congregation and the whole church movement. And also, Liz noted, she said, Stephen, did you realize that 3 of your interns are in the same issue? 3 articles by Sam Teitel and Daniel Lawler and Aisha Nsano. No pressure there, Jonathan, no pressure. And I'm very excited to have Sue come and talk after the service. Now, many of us went and we were on various greens all through the state of Connecticut. And we hoisted our signs and we brought our soul and our hope. But there are people that do this work every day for hours on end. And it is backbreaking and heartbreaking work, but it is also truly the work of the values we've just articulated in our covenant. And to have Sue come and talk about what she experiences at Fairhaven, I hope that you'll come back, because we not only need to support that work, we need to support the people that do the work, because it's hard. Our meditation this morning is from a minister I admire very much, Reverend Carl Scoville, retired minister emeritus at King's Chapel. He writes about his daughter more than 20 years ago coming to him with a gnawed little peach pit and said, Daddy, I want to plant this. And he says to her, you know, honey, it's probably not going to grow up, but yeah, sure, we'll plant this. And then he writes about one afternoon going and picking 427 small peaches from that little pit. He says, waste 29 seeds for the sake of one that may come up, and when it does come up, the tiny little thing you dropped on the ground is multiplied 100 times. Of course, what I need is not peaches, but time. Dorothy Day said, to make time, you must sow time. What are you short of? Time, money, power. Whatever it is you need, throw it away. Drop it. Toss it. Chuck it. Lose it. And then get ready for a harvest. No, it's not a sure thing. Nothing's sure. Neither the stock market, nor the Red Sox, nor life. The harvest that comes may not be the one you expect, but it might be the one that you need. Carl says, sow an hour and you reap a year. Sow a smile and reap a friend. Sow a prayer and reap a kingdom. Sow a peach pit and reap 427 peaches for canning, compost, and a sacred lesson. In the silence that follows, reach deep into the silence to think about how you can be profligate with the small thing that reaps the truest harvest of all, 100-fold. It may be so. Now it's our time for offering. Don't take that small little pittance thing too seriously. Be really wildly generous this morning. That's fantastic as well. for all the ways that we can give, all the ways that we can be generous. Understand that this is our opportunity in this hour to support the work and the care and the extension of the values of this congregation, for the care and sustenance of this community of faith. And please give generously.
The reading that I've chosen for today is taken from a book called How We Learn to Be Brave by Marianne Buddy. You may remember her name as the Episcopal bishop who received both laudatory comments and condemnation when, during the inaugural service in Washington, D.C. for Trump's second term, she asked for mercy for those who are afraid. This is from How We Learn to Be Brave. We all want to be brave when it counts, to be able to step up, lean in, and do the right thing when it matters most. Yet the capacity to respond in such pivotal moments does not drop from the sky. It is preceded by countless daily decisions that determine our capacity to be brave when called upon. It's a long practice. It sets us on the path of self-awareness, attentiveness, and willingness to risk for what we believe is right. It is also a profoundly spiritual experience because it's one in which we feel a part of something larger than ourselves, no matter what name we give to it. Perseverance is the hidden virtue of every courageous life. Wherever we find ourselves in relation to the decisive moments in our life's trajectory, perseverance is what enables us to keep going, even when we're stumbling in the dark. Thank you, choir. What a treat to be listening to your voices. I always feel like I've come home when I'm here. I've actually joined a church finally, at long last, First Parish Cambridge, which I joined, I started attending in the wake of the election because, like so many of us, I needed more community. So I am now a member of First Parish Cambridge, and I love it, and I still feel like I've come home when I come here to be with you in this beautiful sanctuary and in this gathered community that it holds. So thank you for having me back. It would be nice to come and join you here one of these days when we're in moments of lightness, and peacefulness, and feeling like everything's on the right track. But thank God and goodness that we have communities like this one where we can come when we are in troubled times and times when we feel like very much of what we believe in and trust is at stake. It's a place we can come in unsettled time and bring our fears and our worry and our pain. Today, we are about 9 months into this strange and frightening political era. 9 months in which we have lived with a veritable fire hose of news about one or another way in which people and institutions and protections that we care about are under assault. Every week, sometimes every day, it feels like there's something new that's rising to the top of the heap of what feels threatened. And the litany of wreckage can feel like it's almost beyond our capacity to track. Living in the midst of it, in the midst of its unfolding, it is inevitable that we sometimes feel fear in one of its many manifestations, ranging from unsettled to anxious to feeling a sense of dread, maybe even sometimes outright panic, the kind of feeling that can make it hard to eat or sleep or function normally. So I decided, in anticipation of this Sunday with you, to focus on courage today as one of the muscles that we most need to strengthen and to help each other strengthen in times like these that we're living through. It's important to remember that fear is not an accidental outcome of what is happening. It is being generated very deliberately. The lies that are used to describe chaos and criminality in our cities and among our communities are being told in order to create fear, which then permits things like the deployment of the National Guard or even military troops, supposedly to control these forces of chaos in our cities. Fear is the favorite tool of autocrats and dictators everywhere because it is so useful in quelling dissent. Fear makes us smaller. Fear makes us want to circle in, keep our heads down, lower our profiles, not make waves. Fear also speaks in the singular. Fear says, I have to watch out for me and mine. It scatters and weakens us. Courage speaks in the plural. It says, we are in this together, and together we will find the way forward. This is why it's so important to cultivate courage. If we let fear drive the choices that we make, then we ourselves help to empower and support the authoritarian regime that Trump and his allies are trying to create. I used to think that brave people were simply less afraid than the rest of us, that their courage was an inherent part of their character, that somehow they got an ingredient put into their DNA at a higher quantity than the rest of us seem to get. But as I have gone through my life, I have been privileged to know some very brave people living in the context of great personal danger. I discovered that they often feel just as afraid as I would if I were living in their circumstances. Their courage is not fearlessness. It's the determination to choose what they will do despite being afraid. I recently read the memoir that is simply called Patriot by Alexei Navalny, who led the most effective modern opposition to Putin's dictatorship in Russia. Not very long before he was killed early last year, Navalny wrote, "I have always tried to ignore the idea that I could be attacked, arrested, or even killed. I have no control over what might happen, and it would be self-destructive to dwell on it. It's not that I'm crazy, nor am I irresponsible or fearless. It is simply that deep down, I know I have to resist. The only moments in our lives that count for anything are those when we do the right thing, when we can raise our heads and look each other in the eye. Nothing else matters." In his memoir, Navalny makes clear that his capacity to keep on acting for justice in the face of great personal threat was not a thing he was born with. It was a capacity that he consciously cultivated over a period of many years. This is what I think Marianne Buddy is saying in the reading this morning. We can strengthen our own capacities for courage. We do it the same way that we tilt ourselves toward anything else in our characters that we want to strengthen: patience, kindness, compassion. We strengthen courage the way we can choose to strengthen a muscle in our bodies. And Buddy breaks it down into some components. Courage, she wrote, is a practice that sets us on a path of self-awareness, attentiveness, and willingness to risk for what we believe in. I find that little trinity of self-awareness, attentiveness, and willingness to risk useful in trying to think really concretely about how we strengthen our own capacities for courage. What might self-awareness mean if we want to be more courageous? For me, it means an awareness of my position in the world. However much dread and anxiety I feel these days, I am not a person who is currently targeted by the government. I need to stay aware of who is actually in the crosshairs and being attacked, who is explicitly endangered right now. People living with disabilities, people who are transgender and otherwise queer, people who are immigrants, people who are Black or brown or Native, people who are Muslims, people who are homeless, people who are in need of an abortion that they cannot get. These people are in actual danger, including from direct physical violence. I am not in any of these groups. It is self-awareness that lets us see our position in the world, and this can inform how we greet and manage our fear, the perspective into which we can put it. When we're in a targeted group, we might make different choices on when and how we resist. For someone like me, to recognize my privilege prompts me to ask, how can I be of most use to those who are in the most danger? And refocusing my attention like that away from my own dread helps me to strengthen my courage. When Charlie Kirk, the leader of the Turning Point movement, was killed last month, dangerous rhetoric from Trump and his allies ratcheted up almost instantly. They began to paint a picture of a vast, violent, left-wing conspiracy, blaming Kirk's death basically on anyone who is progressive. A close friend of mine, in a panic about what kind of retribution this rhetoric might lead to, told me that I should take down our yard signs. The one that says "No Kings" next to the Statue of Liberty, and the one that says "Abide no hatred." My friend was worried that the signs identify us as progressives, and he thought we should lower our profile for a while, just for a while, until things calmed down. That reaction might sound a little excessive, but it is a widespread, very common response. When things get scarier, lower your voice, fade into the background so you won't be attacked. But not everyone can fade into the background. It is precisely those of us who are not most at risk, who need to keep on showing up and speaking our truth as things become more dangerous for others. We can choose any arena, a cause, a community, and use our position of relative privilege there instead of using it to keep ourselves even more secure. For my next-door neighbor, whose work is with profoundly disabled children and their families, her arena is disability rights. For another friend who teaches in a grade school where most of the children come from poverty and even homelessness, her arena is fighting to preserve Medicaid and resist the criminalization of homelessness. My own chosen arena is with migrants, especially those who are most vulnerable to deportation to the desperately dangerous places they fled. One of my roles in the immigration justice group that I'm a part of is onboarding new volunteers to our hotline, a hotline that is used by migrant families most commonly and at very high volume now when one of their family members has been picked up and is jailed by ICE. I talk with these new volunteers not only about the logistics and the tasks of the hotline, but of the particular kind of courage that they need for it also. To be on the hotline team requires us to turn our faces again and again toward trauma, toward traumatized people who are now being newly endangered. It's hard to do that, to deliberately step toward the pain and the threat that another person is facing, to stay in solidarity with them. It brings us up against not only that person's pain and trauma, but also up against our own limitations, both in what we can do and in what our hearts can carry. Nevertheless, showing up like this is one of the ways we strengthen our courage. It deepens our appreciation of the beautiful diversity of our human family, and it steadies our resolve to defend them with all of the love and commitment that we can muster. Self-awareness is connected to attentiveness, the second thing that Buddy named in our reading as a part of practicing courage. One of the things new volunteers notice and regularly mention is the lessening of their own anxiety when they have found a way to plug in and make a difference. There's almost nothing that can ratchet up that feeling of fear than helplessness, that idea that there's nothing we can do, that the forces we're up against are too large. The more helpless we feel, the more frightened we feel. It's like this cycle that feeds itself. If we are attentive to what is actually going on in the world around us, we see many hundreds of ways that people reject that narrative of helplessness and are finding ways, sometimes very quietly and very close to home, to make a difference and to resist. Huge collective gestures, like the magnificent marches all across the country yesterday, beautiful shows of dissent, those things make a difference. And they show us how many of us there are. But for me, even more important are the hours I spend each week on my phone or laptop, speaking with migrants and telling them some of the concrete ways we can accompany and support them. It feels like each conversation is an act of resistance, and each one makes us incrementally stronger and more committed and grounded for the next action we can take. Attentiveness is also important because it helps us stay focused amid the barrage of unhinged things that are coming at us all the time, especially from the White House, so that we know where exactly to put our energy and our action. And it is by that same attentiveness that we can watch our own reactivity to the barrage and make deliberate choices about where to ground ourselves. It is natural that in addition to fear or dread, we feel other things. Rage, perhaps, fury along with our disbelief. Sometimes we probably feel contemptuous toward the other side. Maybe if we really look into our hearts, we see a little seed of what we would have to even call hatred growing there. It's okay to feel those things. It's impossible not to sometimes feel them, but they are not where we want to be grounded. It takes courage to see them clearly, especially those feelings we're not proud of having, and to deliberately choose to reground ourselves in something better. When we go out to meet the moment, we want to do it from our best selves, so we don't slide into some kind of furious shouting match. In the moment, maybe the shouting match feels good, but it will not bring the changes that we want. The third thing that Buddy lifted up as a part of growing in courage is the willingness to take risks for what we believe is right and good. And risk-taking can start small. It can be really, really little things that we do to build the muscle of taking risks. We've seen what happens when people choose not to defend what they know is right. Each time a law firm, a media company, or a university bends the knee, instead of fighting for their rights, for our rights, the whole of society has lost ground. Each time one of them resists, it strengthens the next one for resistance of their own. Our choices are not the same as those of large institutions, but they're similar. As people of faith, we want our moral grounding to be there for us if and when we are truly tested. And the bedrock of that moral grounding is the same thing that will ground real courage, and that is love. Pure and simple. Courage grows from love. When we love the brilliant diversity of our human family, when we love truth-telling and its power, when we love the planet we are part of, we will defend them. Our courage to defend them does not come from a philosophy or a belief or political party or ideology. It comes from love. Those who have taken wrecking balls to the things that manifest our country's best values are not acting out of anything that I can recognize as love. It looks much more like greed, lust for power, hubris, and in some cases, it looks like hatred of those they see as different and inferior. So it is an act of faith when we ground ourselves in love and hold out love as an antidote. It may seem a fragile thing, like lifting a flower against an armored tank. But each gesture, each manifestation of love, vulnerable as they seem in the moment, can also carry immense power. What we love, we will find a way to defend. So the practice of courage, fundamentally, is also the practice of grounding ourselves in love. This congregation has a practice, as we just recited, of lifting up your covenant each Sunday to remind yourselves of the values in which you choose to be grounded. The immigration justice group I'm part of in Boston does the same thing. And at the start of each of our gatherings, we recite together the values that bind us. We say, we honor people's dignity and choices in a system that denies dignity and choice. We expect messiness, confusion, and discomfort, and we also choose courage and trust. We judge the system, not people. We fight for one another as family because we are. My own family now includes a biological granddaughter who is almost 1.5, and also a non-biological granddaughter who is almost 2 years old, born to a Haitian woman who lived with us briefly and has become part of our family. I love both of these children. And sometime in the future, when both of them are safe and secure, I will want to look back on this fraught time and tell them stories of what it was like. I will want to tell them all of the ways that we found to resist and to uphold truth, uphold fairness, uphold solidarity, because they will want to know not just that we lived through such a time, but how we lived through such a time, how we chose to be equal to the moment, how we acted from love and from courage. May it be so. Amen. Before we sing our closing hymn, please join me in the words of extinguishing our chalice, which is actually passing the flame. Carry forth this chalice flame, its illumination into our daily lives, its sustaining warmth into our relationships, the light of reason shining beyond these walls. May we carry the fire of hope in our hearts this day and in the week to come. Please join me in singing hymn number 348, Guide My Feet.
Thank
These words of benediction come from the writer Rebecca Solnit. In giving to others, we make the best version of ourselves, a version that cannot be made any other way, a gift we can receive only by giving to others, who are inseparable from the largest, most heroic version of ourselves. We were made for this work, and when we do it, we discover who we truly are. Go in peace, believe in peace, create peace. Amen.
Amen.